Today my sketch challenge was Precious Gems. I got this from my list of daily sketches for March that I gave to my advanced intro students. Of course, anybody can totally do this. I'm using my watercolor pencils to go over my outline drawing that I did while looking at some vectors of some crystals. And I was just having some fun knowing what watermelon tourmalines looked like, doing some color shifts from pink to purple, and making sure that I have highlights and some shadows in areas. By pressing down really hard with this watercolor pencil, I'm able to make a really dark saturation. And then if I just leave the areas blank, then I just add water to the middle, like where the paper is blank, and then I take my paintbrush really close to the lines that I drew on. And you can see that the water is pulling the color, the pigment out towards where I've made a path with the water. And I can just keep layering and adding in more colors. I do use my watercolor pans, my Winsor Newtons and Schmincke's, to add some extra saturation. And I blot things up with my paper towel that I keep by. It's really handy for if I bleed over into an area that I don't want to have any color in it. And I just go through and I add in some shadows. I make my darks dark, and I leave my light areas super duper light if I can. I really am in love with this carmine pink that I just filled in right there. And it's so much fun to sprinkle some salt on. I didn't do as much with this one as I did with my last painting, but just having some variation to add some imperfections in my crystals would be really, really cool. I used a Shiraz color for that darker area. These are very similar colors to the exact colors, actually, what I used with my Ursula painting recently. Carmine pink and Shiraz and violet and dusty violet. The brand I use is Derwent Ink Tints. It's like a permanent color, so it stays very, very vibrant and it doesn't fade out, so you don't have to keep on adding layers upon layers. I just wanted to experiment with my cake pans and try some. I think I'm using phthalo blue and phthalo green together to make a nice aqua color. And I just sprinkled some salt over that, get those areas blotchy. It's nice to get the contrast for these crystals by leaving some areas completely blank. And then once the areas around it dry, I add in more paint. I wanted to make a garnet cluster down here. My husband's a jeweler, so he sent me a bunch of more crystals to draw and paint, so I can actually do some really hyper realistic things once I get with it. But with this one, I just wanted to have fun and make some random crystals and not overthink things. I tend to overthink when I first start painting. This was just a lot of fun to paint. I added a lot of salt on this one just to make it sparkly. Ooh, I have glitter paint I should add on that next. To be continued.